Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me, he does every week from TheRinger.com, is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
Just a tough night to be cruising around League Pass last night. You know, the Knicks look terrible, the Pistons look awesome, and then Jimmy Butler gets hurt. It's just a tough League Pass night last night, Verno.
The biggest news by a wide margin was the Jimmy Butler injury. The Warriors had been coming on, certainly offensively, over the course of the last couple of weeks. Since Christmas, they had a top 5 offense in the NBA. Recently, they kind of found that third leading scorer that we were talking about, like who's going to be the third guy, because obviously the Kuminga drama has been surrounding them all season. And it's been my old buddy, DeAnthony Melton, who has come on for the Golden State Warriors, averaging 17 a game recently. And they really started cracking. They were doing well. Jimmy Butler having a really good season. 20 points a game, 5.6 rebounds, 5 assists, all while shooting 52% from the field and 38% from three. And then it ends. Jimmy Butler comes down awkwardly on his leg last night. Steph Curry and the rest of the Golden State Warriors are praying for better news than they got. And overnight, Shams Charania tweets out that, in fact, Jimmy Butler has torn his ACL and it will be season ending. Obviously, everybody's mind goes to, is it career ending? Because of his age and where he is in the context of age versus how long careers usually last. And it's a long rehab, right? To come back from a torn ACL, especially when you're 36, 37 years old. That being said, we got to dive into a lot of this. The Warriors season now gets incredibly interesting, especially as we hurtle towards the deadline. This changes things dramatically. It was a team that was coming on. Usually the margins are very, very thin in the Western Conference. Most of the teams are pretty bunched up. So you're talking a week can change the standings dramatically, especially if you're kind of in the mix. But you wonder where the season goes from here. You wonder what this means for the Kuminga saga. You wonder what this means towards the trade deadline. This changes everything dramatically for one of certainly the premier teams, a team that we see a lot on national television, and a team that still has Steph Curry, who's going to be starting the All-Star game. What's the first things that you're thinking about regarding this Jimmy Butler injury?
First of all, watching it didn't look terrible. It looked bad, but it sounded terrible.
Yeah.
And I think if you've played as long as Jimmy has, you've been in so many different situations Jimmy has been in, playoff wars against LeBron and uncomfortable situations at team after team after team. I think that he sort of emoted the way he did because he knew the severity of the injury. That was the first thing that went across my mind. The second thing that went across my mind was, what does this mean for the future of Wardell, Stephen Curry, and the Golden State Warriors? Because all the rumors for the weeks leading up to this incident last night had been, are they an MPJ team? Are they a Lowry marketing team? With the age and contract situations that are Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy, doesn't it seem like this is a last dancey, one final push, put all the chips in the middle of the table, future draft picks be damned, young players be damned, let's just develop something that is a contender that could maybe make a miraculous playoff run to the finals. Let's gear up for that. Steve Kerr and the end of his deal. It just had this sort of not the last dance, which was in October of that year, clearly the last dance, but it had that sort of Steve Kerr sees the sun setting on the dynasty and said so into a microphone. But it did feel like there was hope if you are a Warriors fan. And after last night, let's be honest, that hope is gone. So What happens next with Kuminga? What happens next with Jimmy? What happened next with Kerr? What happens next with Curry? What does the rest of the season look like? Do you do you put a trade together? Everything changed last night. And one of the focuses of this injury is the future of Jonathan Kuminga. And Steve Kerr who famously has DNP'd Kuminga time and time again, including last night after Jimmy Butler got hurt, was asked about Kuminga's role with the team moving forward, or whether or not he would look to him to sort of like make up for some of those Jimmy Butler minutes he'll be losing. And here's what the head coach of the Warriors had to say.
Could you go to Kuminga if there is a need for
Sure,
that position?
absolutely.
Is he ready? I mean, in practice and all those things?
Yeah.
Do you believe Steve Kerr?
Yes.
I believe him.
Oh, because I think there's probably some stress within the building going, hey, man, we gave him the contract in the offseason. And more importantly, we just had to deal with this news that came out last week about him demanding a trade. His trade value is demolished, right? So I think this goes two different ways. I think, A, you don't have other guys to go to besides him. He is the natural guy that you would go to when your starting small forward goes out. And he did last year when Curry got hurt in the playoffs. That's what it finally took to get Kuminga on the floor. But B, I think if you are Mike Dunleavy, Joe Lacob, and the powers that be at the Warriors, you're sitting there going, this guy has no trade value. Like, we have demolished this thing. And now it's gotten to the point where he's saying he's demanding a trade. He wants out of here. And it's like, you have now, I think it's always hard when, and we'll get to this in another situation later, when you are trying to move a player that it is an unknown what you are getting, that you have to speculate, right? And that has been the thing with Kuminga. It's like somebody has seen him. It's not like he hasn't played minutes or we haven't seen him in the NBA context, but you do have to speculate and you have to say, okay, he was misused. It was a bad fit. He had a bad relationship with the coach from the start. We could get a different version and a much better version. We believe in a Jonathan Kuminga that hasn't existed yet in terms of, and that's what you're asking for in terms of getting any value for him. Because right now, if you are an opposing team, why are you giving up a lot for Jonathan Kuminga? It makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, if I am the opposing GM and the second Mike Dunleavy asks me for more than what I offer, I say, fine, just keep him. Good luck.
Well,
like, you're not using him anyway. Fine, just keep him.
One of the things I find so interesting about this situation, and like, well, let's put the Kuminga thing to the side because I just feel like he just takes up too much airspace in the National Basketball Association conversation, is you mentioned Dunleavy and Lacob, right? Let's imagine that they're having a tough time last night. You happen to be in the Bay Area, right? And they're like, Verno, we're at this dirty Irish dive bar, just drinking into our sorrows. We need your help as a consigliere for the Warriors franchise. We really respect your Masters updates. The mismatch has gone to shit ever since KOC left, but that's fine. But we respect your opinion. And they're doing tequila shots and margaritas.
Yeah.
And they're like, Verno, we don't have Jimmy. We don't really have a chance. We have the deadline coming up. We have an aging Steph Curry. What do we do? What should be our plan for the next 2 or 3 years with this franchise?
I mean, this is a tough one because Jimmy Butler just got hurt. And so
that's why they're drinking the shots in the margarita.
Yeah, this is why they're drinking the shots.
When you're in a tough problem and you're the front office of an NBA basketball team, there's only one person to turn to. Chris Vernon.
It's me. Look, I don't know the ins and outs of the Kuminga thing, but this is what I would say. I would say, look, we've got to think about short term before we think about long term because we don't know on the whole. Like, we're going to lose Jimmy Butler for a year, so that's out of the plan, right? So now we have to plan for a life without Jimmy Butler and we don't have very long on this whole Curry Draymond thing anyway. So what are we going to try to do to accentuate what we do have right now? You still want to have a chance. You still are in the mix right now. There's no sense in trying to tank this thing out, right? You've got a starter in the All-Star game, and everything else. What I would do is my short-term plan right now, and again, I don't know if all of those guys would be together, but let's just say they are all together, and I'm with them. You start Jonathan Kuminga, and you try to get that trade value up over the course of you have a little less than a month, right? So over the next 3 weeks, the biggest thing we can do is get that Kuminga trade value up. Okay. If I'm trying to build out and I'm just trying to give myself a chance, right? Like you never know.
But to what end? You want to build his
it.
value up to trade for what? A star to go alongside Curry and Horford?
I don't know if you're going to get a star, right? Like star doesn't have to, but I mean, I'm trying to build out the best team I can. What are the best ways I can possibly accentuate the end of the Curry Draymond thing? And so what kind of players would be best suited? And those are just be role players, right? And maybe it's not enough, but at least I've got a fighting chance if I go and I try to bolster my team. If I'm not, so right now, the deal is try to get the Kuminga stock to somewhere where you could actually get something in return. And even if that means role players, right? But I mean, I don't think that right now your best player on your team is an aged veteran who is still playing at an all-star level, and you still have a puncher's chance when you have him. So I would try to – you never know the way this stuff's going to go.
Puncher's chance injured. What?
People get injured every single year in the playoffs, and it alters the playoffs, right? It altered their season last year. If Steph Curry doesn't go out, they probably beat Minnesota. If let's just say you got in a series with Minnesota, and then I told you Anthony Edwards is unavailable.
Still losing to the Wolves.
I mean, again, you could say that, but I am one of those where you are in the mix right now. You're never getting to the bottom. You're already too far down the line. So I'm trying to just have the best season I can have. And if I'm not going to use Kuminga, if I still get offered nothing for him, then I ride this thing out and hope that he comes along and there's like some kind of, great come to Jesus moment with him and Steve Kerr. Otherwise, I mean, what else are you going to do? You're just going to say, oh, to hell with it, and we're just going to blow the whole thing up. And I mean, that can't be. So
no,
again,
I mean, that's ridiculous too.
Okay, so you're asking me what I would do. I mean, step number one is build up the Kuminga value to try to get something for him. And even if that just means I get vet role players to throw around those guys that Steve Kerr will trust and will play, and I try to add some depth, then that's what I go with. That's it. I mean, what else am I going to do? What else am I going to do?
It feels like the right thing to do is because the future looks pretty bleak without Jimmy Butler, not just the end of this year, but presumably some of next year. And honestly, I was not very high on this team fully healthy as it was.
Right.
And I think you have Steph Curry into the office and you say, what do you want us to do here? Be like, I don't think Steph Curry's going to go anywhere. I think he finishes his career as a Warrior. Like, where's he going? What is he doing? Right?
Right.
But it does seem to me that this injury puts us as a basketball, NBA, Steph Curry loving swath of the population in a really bad spot because it does feel like the last, let's call it 3 or 4 years of his career will be played on non-contending teams.
Certainly a possibility.
That's what it feels like.
Certainly a possibility at this point. I mean,
that's what it feels like.
This was the chance. And again, they had been coming on a little bit over the course of the past couple of weeks to where you could at least foresee a circumstance where they become a dangerous team, a team that you don't want to see when it comes playoff time. And that's
they're officially that low seed you don't want to play. That's what they were before last night. And I think after last night, that's changed.
Certainly with the amount, because you have to give credit and you have to give honor to the amount of playoff success that those 3 guys have had. But now it's 2 guys.
4 if you even add Horford. You talk about playoff success. Like, we got to throw Horford in there.
Right. And now it's 2 or possibly 3. So, I mean, that's the only thing you could do at this point, right? You hope that Kuminga could come in, can play well for you, and build up his trade value to where you could at least get some stuff in return that helps you win now. Again, these are all like, if you're trying to make the most of the end of the Curry era.
I think it'd be really strange if they traded Kuminga for like a second-year potential upside guy and 2 draft picks. It's like, no, what are you doing? Are you building for the 2029-30 season? Like, what are we talking about?
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
again, you build you get some solid vets, and then obviously, look, you hope that these other guys, you need Moody and Pods and all of these guys, right? Like when guys get hurt, that means more opportunity for other guys. And so I would try to bolster this roster because you are getting nothing, like literally nothing out of the Kuminga spot. Nothing. At this point.
Not even minutes.
Right, not even minutes. You're getting nothing. So to me, I look at that and go, well, that'll be a big bonus. At least if I got even if I got some guys with hearts and lungs that are out there playing for me, at least it's better than that. Because this is a sunk cost. It literally is a sunk cost.
Hearts and lungs is the bar to get over to contribute to the Warriors over Kuminga. Hearts and lungs.
That's all
legs
you
and
need.
Arms.
Is it somebody that can run up and down the court? That's the bar. Because right now, the guy is not playing at all. And so
it just sucks, man.
No,
it sucks. Because watching Steph Curry like score 40 in losses, it's just like, I don't want to see that anymore.
The Jimmy Butler, the Jimmy Butler story was mega depressing, to say the least. We've got 8 things we care about this week. All right. We've got to start with the Knicks. We have to. I'm going to let you start with this.
You always start, Verno.
No, we are starting with the Knicks.
Oh, do you think that my dumpster fire is burning hotter than your dumpster fire because you guys won a game in London? So now your dumpster fire is cooled off?
I think.
Oh, no.
I think,
no. If we're having competing dumpster fires, yours is burning hotter, my friend.
Look, I have not been in a situation where I have been in the home arena and the whole arena starts booing and the owner gets up at halftime and never returns to his seat as he is losing to the 12th seed in the Western Conference, who is without 7 players.
I was about to say, yeah, not only the 12th seed, like the G League two-way version of the 12th seed in the Western Conference.
I mean, you could say that, but God. I mean, it is now 9 of 11 that have been lost by the New York Knicks. Over the last 11, they've had the 3rd worst defense and the 3rd worst points off of fast breaks. So not only do they not defend in the half court, they never get back if somebody gets a run out against them. What has happened? Like, look, I do think that given our expectations and that a lot of people think that the New York Knicks have a incredible chance of being the Eastern Conference representative in the NBA Finals this year, this has been beyond alarming. When you get back Brunson and you get back Hart, and you're playing this game yesterday, and I think everybody has kind of waited over the course of the past week for the right the ship game, and this was the complete opposite of the right the ship game against the Dallas Mavericks. This was the ship is like at the bottom of the ocean.
So
can it be revived?
I have to be like 100% honest into this microphone right now.
Please.
I don't know exactly how I feel about this swoon. I could make a great case why the glass is half full, and I can make a great case why the glass is half empty. Unlike some more reactive and emotional Knicks fans that are in my life and in my timeline, I don't think this is let's get rid of Cat as soon as possible, trade him for whatever. This team is broken. This roster's broken. The system's broken. Mike Brown sucks. Tom Thibodeau sucks. James Dolan sucks. Everything sucks. This is the worst. We need to completely rebuild this. We should have traded for Giannis, blah, 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 blah. I think during this 11-game run has been really bad. In this run, they lost. These are the games. And they're not losing to the Wizards or the Pelicans, but the Mavs loss last night was sort of one of the worst. But they lost to the Spurs.
I mean, they lost to the Kings.
The Spurs, the Hawks, the Sixers, the Pistons. Bad. And they beat the Clippers. They lost to the Suns. And they beat the Blazers. And then they lose to the Kings. And that was bad. Losing to the Kings was bad.
That was the...
And you think...
worst three-point shooting game of the year. They shot 19.5% from three in that game. So I guess you could do a little regression to the mean game there.
We'll talk about threes in a second because I found something when I was looking at this. Then they lose to the Suns, and last night they lost to the Mavericks. Tomorrow night they have the Nets. If they lose that, then I'm just going to move to a different country and change my name. They play the Sixers, the Kings, and the Raptors.
The Sixers one is a huge one because they've given up a boatload of points to the Sixers in the games this season.
And they have just absolutely no answer for Tyrese Maxey.
Right.
Like none. Tyrese Maxey. If you have FanDuel, just do Tyrese Maxey 30 points plus, and just send me 10% of your winnings. Here's one thing I found interesting about them, because defense is the problem, right? Offense doesn't look great of late, but whatever. Like, the real problem is the defense, and the two best offensive players and the two best players, frankly, just are defensive liabilities. So I started looking into their defense. Do you know they give up the fourth smallest amount of points in the paint in the NBA, which I was shocked by. I had to look at the stat like 7 times because Cat famously is a defensive liability. Mitchell Robinson is a great rim protector, but he's on minutes restriction. He plays very limited minutes. So you would think that they would give up a lot of point paints. They don't. But
I don't know. You do have wings that can move their feet. You know what I mean? When they're trying. When they're trying.
That is what it is. It's hard to get around the wings.
Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby are
Anunoby, yes, exactly. They stay in front of a typical sort of like driver,
correct,
catch it off a swing, up fake drive sort of thing. They're really good at defending those, which makes sense. It's not rim protection really. But they give up 43.9 points per game for three, which is 28th in the league. They gave up tons of threes. And I was watching this run of losses, and I kept saying to myself, the other team is just having the game of their lives from the three-point line. But that can happen once or twice. But when it happens like 4 or 5 times in 2 weeks, you have to start looking in the mirror instead of the sky. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, oh, just bad luck for us. Because look at these reserve, not like the main guy at the top of the whiteboard, as you say. These are the reserve performances against the Knicks in the last 5 games. Zach LaVine 5 for 9 from 3. Achua 2 for 4 from 3. And then against the Warriors, Moody was 7 for 9 from 3. Against the Suns, Booker, who's their main guy, was 4 for 6. Royce O'Neal 4 for 6. Dillon Brooks 5 for 9. And last night, Max Christie 8 for 10. Max Christie was 5 for 6 at the half. It was the first or second possession of the second half. Guess who's wide open from 3 on the wing? Max Christie.
I mean, in fairness, that is the game plan. Theoretically, it's like, all right.
But not after he's 5 for 6 in the first half.
Understood. Well, I think it all kind of goes back to the same thing, right? Which is, I told you how bad their fast break defense or their points off transition have been. It's the same thing. If we accept that these guys are good at guarding against points in the paint because they're able to stay in front of people, most of these teams are doing the paint touch, collapse the defense,
kick out,
throw it out, now rotate it around, right? So it's swing after they throw it out, right? Like, this is the commonplace offense that you see within the NBA. Well, the same thing that leads to you not getting back on defense is the same thing that leads to not getting out there on defensive closeouts and having that level of intensity. Therefore, it all comes down to effort. And that's why the fans are booing yesterday. The reason they're booing is because they don't feel like they are getting an honest effort out of their team. And that, whether it is cup hangover, dog days of the NBA, then you get to more dastardly opinions, which are, have they given up on the coach? Is his message not resonating with them anymore? I'm just saying all of these things. But when you have a team that is coming out there, if there's one thing that the Knicks have been able to hang their hat on, as they have had this recent level of success over the course of the past couple of years, is being a team that gives an honest defensive effort on a regular basis. And if you feel like your team is giving an honest effort and it's not enough, you live with it. But I think that both Knicks fans and the general public do not feel like the Knicks are 2-9 in their last 11 games because of some kind of overhanging problem, more so than you're not playing hard. That's what your problem is. If you give it an honest effort, this isn't happening. And that's why the boos are raining down. And that's why the owner never returns to his seat.
I think it also is worth mentioning, if you haven't been paying close attention, that the Knicks during this run have been at times without Josh Hart, who is their effort guy. Like that's
Sure.
that like is his superpower. Like
Right.
can't really shoot, can't really drive. Great transition on offense, good defender, but he is just like an all-out effort guy. Any loose ball, any offensive rebound, any sort of hustle play, that's what he does. And they've been without Brunson for a couple games because of a twisted ankle, and that hasn't helped. But I'm not ready to panic yet. I'm not ready to panic.
I have only seen. Now, I'm sure that I'm sure that your text messages amongst Knicks fans are a hellscape. I have only seen social media, but my God, I mean, the turn on Towns has been severe. I mean, to the point where and again, you can only take what that it's probably a poor example, even though in New York, I feel like it might not be as bad example as in other places, because they're pretty hard on their guys. But I kind of feel like as of today, if Karl Towns calls a restaurant tonight, like they might hang up. Like, yeah, it used to be you'd get the best table. And if they're like, yeah, this is Karl Towns, I was seeing if you got, we don't have any tables. Like, we don't have any tables.
It's
when they turn on a guy,
it's been a rough 10 days for Karl Towns.
When they turn on a guy, because when New York turns on you, it turns on you, brother, buddy. He's catching it.
I'm not ready to panic. I don't think there's big trades that need to be made. I think that if anything, this is a tough road trip mixed with that rhythm of the season where that like sort of post-Christmas, pre-All-Star break, sort of like dog days of the season, midway point thing is kind of happening to them in this little swoon. But it is a little concerning when you see Brunson, captain, have a little mid-game players-only meeting, talking up the guys. We've all watched the clip online or during the game, and there was no response. Just none.
I did hear one theory that was proposed by me, actually.
Does it involve Josh Hart's thumb? Because if it does, just move. Move on.
Things did start going the wrong way when Josh Hart stuck his thumb up Brunson's ass on national television.
Let's go to the next thing. Let's talk about your stupid team.
I think that
Shut up.
Just a theory.
I hate it here.
It's just a theory.
Oh, and my 10-year-old twins went to the game last night with one of their friends.
Great. Hey, they're going to love Broadway now. They're going
to be Nets fans now. I tell you.
Get them an MPJ jersey.
If you build around Yegor Jamon, or whatever his name is, Joman. How do you say his last name? Joman? What? Just call him Igor Demon. Jesus.
Well, things have gotten a little different for me, Mr. Jacoby, over the course of the past 5 days, because as we recorded last week, I told you that by the time I left New York City and got on a plane on Wednesday and saw the John Morant practice video, saw the press conference video, I was like, oh, we're done here. And this was after you had berated me for having any level of hope that things could possibly get worked out. And there's a day where I am in an arena watching John Morant be awesome for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then after we recorded and the team headed off to London, England, it was a series of good news items that came out regarding said situation. And I only mean this in the context of, first you have Brian Windhorst going on ESPN and saying, you got this Giannis thing going on in Milwaukee. You got this summer that's going to be coming up with Donovan Mitchell available and this guy available. Don't expect in Miami Heat to make some kind of big push for Ja Morant. And immediately I was like, well, if that's off the table, if I'm that guy, I'm sitting back and going, all right, well then where exactly would I go? You know what I mean? Like the Miami thing, that there was already an article that said the preference of Team Morant, if he were going to be moved, was Miami. And that became a thing. And then you have Brian Windhorst, and then following him, Tim Bontemps shooting that down and saying, yeah, that ain't going to be the place for Ja Morant. So first you have that coming out. Then you have a picture of Uncle Phil, who is Ja's business manager, and his father with T. Morant standing on the sidelines. And the post says something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, but always understand the moment. And then he's listed as probable for the London game. So you have Adam Silver going to the podium and saying, I'm disappointed that Ja Morant is not participating in this Berlin game, and I am hopeful that he is going to play in the London game. The NBA puts on this huge deal over in London. And so then by Saturday, Ja Morant is listed as probable, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to play. He's going to play. And then he comes out and is old Ja Morant. He has 5 points and 6 assists in the first 5 minutes of the game. He is dancing around. He's smiling. He's high-fiving everybody. He's doing the salsa. Like, what is happening? What is happening? And the coach is all happy. He's all happy. Like, everybody that's watching it is like, is this really happening? He was the best player on the floor versus the Magic by a wide margin. Then comes out after the game, and Mark Stein asks him about the whole situation and the trade rumors. And he says, I'm a loyal guy. Everybody knows I'm a loyal guy. And then references the Grizzlies tattoo on his back. Everybody knows where I want to be. Well, if this doesn't throw a wrench in everything, we had gotten to the point where you and I were recording last week, and I was like, yeah, this is untenable, right? Like, where are we going from here? And then you have, like, if we're continuing your analogy that you did on the show a couple weeks ago, the smoking hot wife has walked back in buck naked and is like, you know what? Forget it. Let's make this right.
That's not what's happening.
And so that's how it feels. And so everybody was, I think that once you play that way and once you say what you said, I mean, the fan base is now back in on your side. And they have 6 of their next 8 home games at home. They very well may still trade him, but I will tell you this. If you are the front office of Memphis, it becomes, I'm boots on the ground. It becomes infinitely less palatable than it was just 5 days ago. It looked like the end, and now what everybody wants is for Ja Morant to be available and awesome in Memphis. That's what they want. That is number 1 on the list. And my opinion has been, if he is available and awesome, all of these problems go away. That's it. If he is the Ja Morant, but if he is unavailable or he is not awesome, then these problems exist. And that has been the issue. He has not been available and he has not been awesome. And that's how we got to this point. Now, the hard part is going to be they have not given him a contract extension. If that is the reason for sore feelings that has caused all of this year, I don't look, as I said in the last show, if you want a contract extension, then go be available and awesome, and you will get rewarded with said contract extension. If you're mad that they moved heaven and earth to give Bane a contract and Jaren a contract, but haven't taken care of you, well, you've got to look in the mirror on that. but he looked happy and he looked great. And we will see it now. It's like the greatest soap opera going because we'll see how he looks, Wednesday night against Atlanta.
It's interesting, Verno. When you talk about Kuminga and what the Golden State sort of operation and franchise should do with him, you suggest they should play him to up his trade value.
Correct.
Okay. But when you talk about Ja Morant and he has a game like this, you talk about how that makes it hard to move him.
Correct.
And that means that he will likely stay. Now, this is just a thought exercise here, a hypothetical. Imagine a world in which we live in, which was the world before the London game, which was this is untenable, this relationship is over, and both the franchise and the star player want to move on. If those were your goals, the best way to achieve those goals for both parties, the franchise and the player, would be for the player to play well, be happy, get his teammates involved. He had 13 assists in that game, and be smiling and perform well.
That's what I've said.
So, does this performance make it more or less likely that he is actually traded? Because to me, this doesn't convince me that it's all fine now because he got a tattoo 3 years ago that he's going to stay with the Grizzlies. This says to me that there's a mutual understanding, whether verbally recognized or not, that this is going to achieve both of their goals, which are to get him on a new.
Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. That is exactly as I said last week. What do you want? If you want to be on a new team, you have to go out there and be available and awesome so that they can move you. If you want to be here and get a contract extension, you have to go out and be available and awesome, and that will take care of itself, right? Like those are the two different options that we're talking about, right? Staying here or going elsewhere. I think that when Miami is off the table, there's a very real possibility that you sat around and you went, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, where am I going then? Do I want to be in Sacramento? Do I want to be in Brooklyn? Do I want to be right? And so that's why when you held the press conference and say everybody knows where I want to be, that does change the calculus. The difference between that and Jonathan Kuminga is Jonathan Kuminga said, get me out of here.
Well, he's also never sold a jersey in his life.
Right.
No one owns a single Kuminga jersey. And if you go to a game, and you will not see a Kuminga jersey.
He also said, get me out of here. Right? Get me out of here. I don't want to be here. That's the problem with the press conference. The problem with the press conference is he said, so now you turn the front office into bad guys if they move you. Because you can always say, bro, I wanted to be there. Now, he has not.
That's his intent.
He has not conducted, up until Sunday, he had not conducted himself in the manner of a guy that wants to be in Memphis. But if you are saying Milwaukee's not trading for you, Miami's not trading for you, look around. Who's trading for you, bro? It's not any place you want to go. It's not any place that's going to love you like the place that you are loves you. Maybe there is a come to Jesus moment. You said, you know what? I'd rather just do it this way, and things will end up taking care of themselves. I think that is more logical, and that's why it's different than the Kuminga spot. The Kuminga thing is like, he wants out. He wants to leave. Yeah, he wants to leave. When you hold a press conference saying you don't want to leave, now they have traded you.
And you do that because the player never wants to be the bad guy. You see it happening with Giannis. Giannis he doesn't want to be the bad guy so much that he refuses to ask out of the situation to his own detriment. And I feel like the players want the fan bases to love them.
Well, also, look, you can conduct yourself in a way. He did literally conduct himself in a way that led to the team saying, we will trade you. That's what he did. He conducted himself so poorly that the team said, you know what, to hell with it. Fine, we'll listen. If this is the Ja Morant that's going to be here, then we'll trade your ass.
I just want to end this by saying that it hurts me to see so much hope on your face and hear it in your voice.
Why?
I think this is over, just like we discussed in the last episode. Just because he played well in London doesn't mean that they've turned a corner and the hot wife is back naked. Like, yeah, the only reason she's naked because she was just flirting with somebody else down the block.
Yeah, but I think the hot wife saw her options and went, you know what? Let me go back to this one.
Yeah. Next thing I care about, someone tells me we'll be talking about Ja every episode forever. This is a little bit pegged to last night's events. I discuss a lot how I enjoy that there is not this inevitability that we had for the years when LeBron was on the Cavs and Steph and KD were on the Warriors, where it was like, well, Cavs-Warriors finals, once again, here we are. And it just seemed inevitable. At this moment, especially after last night, we have a clear-cut number one in each conference. And it's the Pistons and the Thunder. And as I extrapolate the rest of the season, I see both of these teams establishing that stronger and putting the gap between them and the rest of the conference further than the opposite happening. Even with the Thunder's, I don't want to call them struggles, but swoon of late. The Pistons last night beat the Celtics in a close game. It was a great game. And the Pistons defense is just absolutely unstoppable. And I want to call these the clear-cut favorites in each conference. And I want to say that in the great words of Nico Harrison, no one ever said this before, Nico Harrison, defense wins championships. Just give you a few stats about these two teams that are leading each conference. Opponents' points per game. Thunder first, Pistons third. Opponents' field goal percentage. Thunder first, Pistons second. Stocks per game. Pistons first, Thunder second. Like, in my opinion, these are the two best defenses in the league. They have to be the best team in each conference. And I don't see the rest of the regular season playing out, barring injury, obviously, of the gap getting closer instead of wider. And that excites me a little bit.
The other thing that's interesting is the way that the Pistons do play is more of a throwback, because I was reading an article yesterday that said they outscore their opponents by over 13 points per game in the restricted area.
In the paint, yeah.
Which is first by a wide margin. By a wide margin. Like, you just can't keep them off the glass. Like, they get to the basket and they get to the restricted area and they score from there, because we went through a whole swoon where it was like these teams would bomb you out from three. They are dominating their opponents right next to the basket. And I think that there was a realistic chance that after that crazy, unbelievable start that the Pistons had, that it would slow down a little bit, but they just keep on humming. We're halfway through the season exactly. They're 31-10. It's an unbelievable record. Unbelievable record. And they have had injuries themselves. Like, we've done shows where we came on here leading with Danish Jenkins, for God's sakes.
Duran's been out. Beef Stew's been out.
Yep.
Ivy's been out. Like, and I really thought that they would not. These aren't huge names, but like, I thought losing Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. and just the shooting that they provided. Beasley hit like more threes than anybody last year. Like, he was on fire last year. And I thought Duncan Robinson, who played really well last night, has stepped into a really good role for them. And guys like you mentioned, like Dennis Jenkins and just Beef Stew and Duran. Like, when you say throwback, like, Stu can hit some threes. You can't just like absolutely leave him alone there, but they're not a 5-out team by any stretch of the imagination.
And it is a team that has, because they have a lack of national television games, they are going to get their just desserts when it comes to All-Star Weekend, because JB Bickerstaff's going to be coaching the team. Cade Cunningham's going to be on the team as a starter, and Jalen Duran's going to make that team too as a coach's selection. And so they will have two All-Stars in the coach and a great record heading into it. And that's when people, like, the second half of the season, people are going to be like, start to really notice. This feels a little like what happened with the Cavs last year, where remember we were talking throughout the year, and it's like, yo, is anybody paying attention? The Cavs are like 40 and
they won 24 games in a row. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And nobody really cared. And then it got later in the season, it was like, hey, now. And then they kind of fell back a little bit because their lead was so big on everybody and didn't close the season like gangbusters. This feels like a team that can continue this because, as we said, their offense can come and go. Cade Cunningham was like 4 for 17 last night in a win.
Yeah, he was 4 for 17.
When you hang your hat on the defensive end over the course of an 82-game season, we talked about this in relation to Phoenix and them being a surprise team this year. When you give an honest effort and hang your hat on the defensive end every night, you give yourself a chance. Offense can come and go, but defense remains, and like Detroit will guard you every night.
With everybody. They don't have suckers.
You never look up and they're giving up 138. Like
there's no like pigeon. There's someone that they call over to get put in the action every single time. Like, as a Knicks fan, I see it all the time. Like, they don't have that guy that you can just pick on.
Yep.
And they play so well defense. And I also think that you could look at Cade and say, 4 for 17, like not a great shooting game, which is true. It wasn't a great shooting game, but they loaded up on Cade and Tobias Harris. He's hitting Tobias Harris for a huge three at the end of the game. He's hitting Duncan Robinson for threes. Like, he's D'ing up. He's staying in front of Brown. Tobias Harris is staying in front of Brown. And 4 for 17 is not a good game. And Cade has had huge games in his career. But that 4 for 17 is a bad box score. But watching the game, I watched the second half. I was watching some of the Indiana-Miami thing. Cade looked pretty good to me. He didn't really contribute in sort of scoring points, but he contributed to that win for sure.
All right, next one. We'll try to burn through these. All-Stars were announced. The big headline from the All-Stars being announced was that it's the first time in 22 years that LeBron James isn't a starter. So we have Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, and Tyrese Maxey as the All-Star starters in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, we have Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic, and SGA. Feels like the only ones you could even argue. And again, this is inarguable considering that, what are you going to do? Argue with what the fans voted for? Like, the fans voted, and the fans voted more for Wemby than they did Anthony Edwards. Thus, he's there instead of Edwards. That would be the other natural pick to be a starter in the Western Conference. And then on the other side, Donovan Mitchell, who even addressed it last night. He's like, look, you got to win if you want to. I'm having a great season, and so Mitchell would probably be the best performer that is not listed as one of these. I will say the biggest thing that stood out to me from all of this, because fan voting plays such a big role, was the fan voting on Maxey. And I mean, Philly, stand up, because they got their guy in, and you do what, when it comes to fan voting, whether that is the individual market or, voting goes on worldwide. Tyrese Maxey was in the fan rank. He was second in the Eastern Conference. He got the second most votes in the Eastern Conference behind Giannis. Yes. So that was the thing that stood out to me the most, was Tyrese Maxey being that high in the fan voting. That and whether that is just Philadelphia getting totally behind him. I mean, it takes more than just your city getting behind you when you're accumulating that number of votes. But I was pretty impressed by that. The fans had Maxey that high. He's certainly moved into a different realm of fame.
Absolutely, and notoriety. And I think that one of the things about his game, which will translate to fan excitement, is he's so fun to watch.
Yep.
And he's so fast and athletic that he plays a little bit differently than sort of like a Cade or a Brunson, who's technical, methodical, footwork, fouls, free throws, whereas Maxey's just he's like the road runner blurring down the court and somehow finishing a floater over somebody. So I think that translates to fan voting in sort of a LaMelo Ball way, where it's like, I wouldn't start a franchise with you instead of Cade Cunningham, but you're going to cut together a better highlight clip and be almost as effective and have good numbers. That's why I think the fan voting sort of leaned that way.
He's also cool.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens.
He's cool. He's cool.
It's a popularity contest. It's likability. He's cool. He looks awesome.
Yep.
He has highlights. He has, big, long threes to win games. He pops up in the algorithm a lot more than a Jalen Brunson does. He just does.
Yep.
And I think that's that LaMelo Ball effect. Find someone under 25 years old, be like, who's the best player in the NBA? At least a bunch of them are going to say LaMelo Ball. It's just sort of like the social mediaification of it all. I'm going to peg mine to the All-Star starters thing. My next one that I care about is I was watching that game on Saturday. There's a lot going on this weekend with all the NFL football games and, just like a holiday weekend and everything, that a lot of people probably missed this Wolves Spurs game. But my God, 55 from Anthony Edwards.
Unbelievable.
And what did Wemby end up with? A 39-9. And just there was a stretch with between like 4 and 3 minutes left in the game where Edwards hits a huge 2-point jumper. And then Wemby comes down, immediately hits a 2-point jumper. And then Edwards hits like a crazy 3 from the left wing. And the place is going nuts. And then, they can't even imagine what's happening. And then Wemby comes down. It's in San Antonio. Wemby comes down and matches the 3. And I'm sitting there watching this. And then afterwards, a reporter is like, Anthony Edwards says he's going to try to dunk on you as much as he can in his entire career. And Wemby answers by saying, over the years, I hope to block him more than he dunks on me. And I'm going to talk about sort of the future of the Durants and Stephs and LeBrons in a second. But that game and the way that he said over the years, I plan on blocking him more than he dunks on me, just made me feel like the kids are all right. Like between Maxey and Cade and Wemby and Edwards, it just made me feel like there is a next generation of superstars that are under 27 years old that will be taking the baton and running with it. And Saturday was a perfect example because everybody wants to put Chet and Wemby in this rivalry, but like it does feel like Edwards and Wemby might be a more suitable sort of tete-a-tete back and forth, basket for basket, big game rivalry that we could see moving forward. And I was just so inspired and comforted watching that game, feeling like, yeah, I could see this in 3 years being them having this huge history of big games and big plays against each other.
Forget 3 years. I mean, you just want some more juice in a matchup like that because it's very plausible that we get to the Western Conference semifinals and we've got Oklahoma City, Denver, Minnesota, and San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, depending how the seeding works out.
Right. I mean,
the way the Wolves have been playing in the last month is like they're doing whatever the Knicks are doing, the Wolves are doing the opposite.
But literally, if it is those 4, if those 4 are the ones that are able to do it, there's literally no bad matchup.
No.
You could mix and match those 4 any which way, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, all of those teams in every combination possible have had really good games and tight series, and and it is sort of a coin flip in all directions.
Yes. Next one, the surging West team. So we talked about leading to Christmas break. We were talking about, all right, we come out after the calendar turns, and who are the teams that are going to be able to surge ahead? Is there going to be a last year's Indiana that has a infinitely better second half than they had first half of the season? And so if we are just keeping an eye on that and we are looking at the surging teams, one of the ones that we talked about as a possibility was the Clippers. Another one that we talked about as a possibility was Portland, and both of them have done exactly what was possible.
No, just say what we said they would.
What we said they would do.
Yeah, they're responding to the Mismatch podcast.
Well, we knew their schedule was going to break their way. The Clippers have now won 12 of 14 games.
Jesus.
Jordan Miller, a massive piece coming off the bench for them. And their bench, the first, John Schumann had this yesterday, the first 27 games of the season, their bench was ranked 3rd from the bottom in the NBA, 27. Now they're 4th over this stretch. Their bench has become the 4th best bench in the NBA over the course of this stretch, and 4 of their next 5 games are against teams with losing records, of which they have an outstanding record against. They have been able to take care of the lesser-than teams. Meanwhile, Portland, also another one of these teams that is 8-2, they're 6-6 the last time they're 500. They're back there now. They're 8-2 since the calendar turned, a top 8 offense, a top 8 defense, and 4 of those wins have been Houston twice, San Antonio, and the Lakers. You've had the Caleb Love breakout, and you have this also really strange thing, which is compiled their record. They are 18-14 versus the Western Conference. They are 4-8 versus the East.
Wait,
Figure that out.
Wait,
yeah,
because you would think
I know
it would be the opposite because a lot of those West Coast trips start in Portland and then
Correct.
go south.
Correct. So it's 18-14 versus the West, 6 straight games against the Eastern Conference coming up. So we will see if that record could get straightened out. They've had Denny Avdia out. They've had Jeremy Grant out. They're getting Drew Holiday back in the mix full time. They still haven't had Scoot in the mix this year. He hadn't played a game yet this year. Like, keep an eye on this. It's something we said to keep an eye on, and it has played out the way we thought it could, where you're looking now, and these teams are the ones that started off the season. Certainly, Portland was kind of holding down the fort more than the Clippers, but they've been mediocre to bad record basketball teams that then flip the switch, and all of a sudden we're looking up, and over the course of 30 games, they're like 22-8 or something, and they have changed the fortunes of their season completely. So far, so good on these teams will be the ones that have a much different second half of the season than first half.
I just want to push back a little bit on sort of like putting these two teams parallel to each other, because I feel like Portland has a good foundation of players that are just off the national radar, like Kamara and Avdia and Shaden Sharp.
Klingen.
They've got Klingen. Like, they've got really good sort of like plus role players, right? And they've been pretty consistent throughout the season. And they've been a tough out, and they've been in tight losses, like well coached under Splitter. Whereas the Clippers were a team that was there's like an overachieving, consistently overachieving, performing well in Portland. Whereas the Clippers were a team that was supposed to be a contender,
right?
One of the worst teams in the league, and no one could figure out why. We're sitting here being like, maybe it's the Steve Ballmer, Pablo Torre stuff. Maybe Chris Paul in the locker room is the problem. Maybe it's Kawhi Leonard sort of not being a leader.
Can't figure out what to do with John Collins.
Collins sucked for the first month.
Right.
Like, we were just like, what is happening to this team that was supposed to be in the top 4 and now is in the bottom 4 of the West? And we're talking about the draft pick that the Thunder have, and they've completely, like, I feel like Portland has been consistently overachieving, where the Clippers have been wildly underachieving and now wildly overachieving. And I'm just sitting there being like, what team is the real team? Like, what is this?
Right.
And those are the difference between those two teams, but that's astute. And I would say that I really do believe that the real Clippers is what we're seeing now versus what we saw before. Like, I would not want to play the Clippers in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Here we go. This is my last one since I went first, which is a little uncomfortable for me. I'm lying in bed last night after watching Jimmy get hurt. And I sort of expressed this before about LeBron when I said that he might retire after this year, because I'm like, what is next? And I kind of feel that way about Steph now too. Because Kevin Durant is on, whether you call him a contender or a fringe contender, whatever tier you want to put him in, he's on a successful basketball team with young players where he has a defined role, and it makes sense for him, right? I don't feel the same about LeBron and Steph as we watch the sunset of their careers. I feel like
Steph's got more juice left than LeBron does. Come on.
Totally fair. But I'm talking about the position they are in their team and the position their team is in the National Basketball Association. Because you want that, and I'll go to football here, you want that Tom Brady on the Bucs. All they need is leadership, a veteran quarterback to sort of like organize the offense. The defense is great. We'll put a veteran leader in this one position, and that will get us a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning on the Broncos, similar situation. And I want that for Steph and LeBron. I currently don't see that for Steph and LeBron. You know, I see LeBron deferring to Luka. It's Luka's franchise. Luka's scoring 40 in losses. They can't stop anybody. And I see Steph now with the second best offensive option on the team being like Moody, Wiggins.
Melton.
I mean, not Wiggins.
Melton.
Yeah, Melton. Who was I thinking of? Pods. I was thinking of Pods, not Wiggins. But it's just tough. Like, I don't know what the next 2 years or 2 seasons bring to these two titans of the league, top 10 players all time. I don't know what it brings. And that's something you ask, like, the question is what do you care about? And I really care about this. Like, is Steph Curry going to be on like a play-in team for 4 years in a row, his last 4 years in the league? Is LeBron just going to like stay on the Lakers and like lose again and cost the team $60 million?
I thought about you the other day. I almost texted to you. I follow all of these like golf Instagram accounts, and I'm scrolling through and there's like this. It was a video of Nelly Korda, who is one of the best female golfers in the world, and it was like, do this drill that Nelly Korda does to improve your swing or whatever, right? And so I'm looking at that, and literally the first comment was LeBron James. And I was like, okay. He's living my life. Like, I mean, he's watching the same video I'm watching of a Nelly Korda golf drill. I was like, all right. Maybe Jacoby's right, and he's like gonna look up and be like, you know what? I would just rather play golf every day.
Well, you know who can't wait to play golf with an early in his golf career LeBron James? Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Oh, for sure.
Michael Jordan can't wait. Like, oh, you golf now, LeBron? Here's a private plane to come to my golf course. Bring $400,000 in cash, and we'll figure this out.
Okay, so one of the things that did take place regarding the All-Star game yesterday, and here's a bet. You can put this on FanDuel because it's minus $5 million on FanDuel. LeBron will beg out of the All-Star game and say, look, even if you were going to name me as you probably weren't, but even if you were, I'm going to make it clear, like, hey, I don't want to be there. Like, I'm not starting in the game, so I don't have to be there. I usually fly in on Sunday and then fly out immediately after anyway. I'm done with all that. So it's minus $5 million on FanDuel. All-Star weekend will be LeBron James golfing videos. Minus $5 million. Minus $5 million. That's what I'd put it on FanDuel.
I'm not at the All-Star festivities.
Right.
You don't see me in the front row, but here's where I am.
Yes.
I took this weekend to fly to, Hawaii.
Correct.
To play the best courses on the islands.
Correct. There will be LeBron James golf videos during All-Star weekend. That's minus $5 million on FanDuel if you want to take it.
Don't you think the coaches will make him an All-Star?
I think they'll try to, and he'll like beg out.
No. I think he does.
I got the sciatica's been bothering me, bro.
I don't know.
Last one. The NBA Europe and PIF. Okay. So this is the Saudi investment fund. And there are these stories that came out that Adam Silver, while he was over in Europe, met with Pau Gasol, who's going to play a big role in this NBA Europe thing, but also that they met with the guys from the Saudi investment firm and PIF. So let me just say on the front end, obviously, I was honed in on watching these games that took place in Berlin and in London over the weekend. Everything about the way the NBA did that was unbelievable. Like, truly unbelievable. Like, the content that they got out of that, and then watching both at the Uber Center in Berlin and the O2 Center in London, and watching the fan interaction and the fans trying to pile into those arenas. Then they made the lighting, the set, like they made it feel like a big deal. The court was awesome. The setting was awesome. You had all these European fans that never get to see live NBA games that were super excited about it. How about this one? This is when I maybe the most shocked I've been on for those that were not watching the Sunday game between the Grizzlies and the Magic. So they make a big deal out of it on Amazon Prime. They've got all these like dignitaries there. They've got Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash addressing the crowd to everybody, the whole thing. And then they come out and they say now to sing the national anthem. And you may not have seen this, Jacoby. They bring out And it is someone who was so significant in our youth that I for 20 years, I have not heard the name. I didn't know
Hold on.
I didn't know what happened to her.
Hold on. It's a female recording artist?
Correct.
I'm imagining English.
Not
English?
Not English.
Not from the UK?
No. She's an American.
Wow, you got me. I mean, Tiffany?
That would
Debbie
be a good
Gibson?
one. That would be a good one.
Tiffany had an important role in Stranger Things. I was like, Tiffany, I remember that.
They said now singing the national anthem. They said you see her performing on Broadway in London at the Devil Wears Prada. Ladies and gentlemen.
There's a Devil Wears Prada play?
Yes. And she's a lead on Broadway in London. They said, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome recording artist Vanessa Williams. And I went, what?
Oh!
Vanessa Williams? Former Miss America. She was the hottest thing going when we were kids.
I remember Vanessa Williams.
Are you ready for me to floor you? 62.
Oh, so she plays
She looks
the editor
unbelievable.
of Vogue role.
She looks unbelievable. Sounded great.
Of course she does.
Vanessa Williams. That was a big deal. Remember, she was married to Rick Fox when we were kids, and
Of course.
she was Miss America. Then had the Save the Best for Last song. I mean, she was like, I didn't know whatever happened to her. I swear, it's been 20 years since I heard somebody say Vanessa, and I was like, I'll be damned. Vanessa Williams on Broadway in London.
Good for her.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, NBA made the biggest deal. They got Vanessa Williams to show up. And so, anyways, you've got this whole PIF story. And one of the things I've talked to you about is, as a golf fan, there's this famous video from a driving range before a tournament when all the stuff was going down in golf. And Rory McIlroy is caught on a live mic saying, why don't they just get together and get the money invested here? And then, of course, they didn't do that, right? Like Jay Monahan, who is the head of the PGA, said, we don't want anything to do with this. We're not having it. And then they said, fine, we'll just start our own league and we'll steal your players because we've got the money to be able to do it. And there was a story that came out in February about how, the Saudis are going to start this global league. It's going to be 6 men's teams and it's going to be 6 women's teams and whatever. Like, bro, if you're Adam Silver, this is like, first, without everybody knowing, they have started to allow private equity to get invested in NBA teams. And this was their way around it without it just being out and out and everybody saying, they're sports washing and how can you do business with these, people, whatever. So you've got that. You've already got like the games that have been taking place in the Middle East or whatever else. I mean, the most important thing is to get them to be involved rather than be your competition for your business, because golf learned, right? Like you big bank take little bank when it comes to business. You know what I mean? And I
2 Chainz reference.
The biggest thing, the biggest problem would be, I think, on the WNBA side too, with this Project B and whatever. Like, I would imagine that it's like, hey, we will have you, we will get you a footprint in the NBA. We will get you a footprint in the NBA Europe. Like, hey, chill out on that whole other league thing, right? Like, because that could destroy the WNBA. It could. Like, they go, again, like, you might be able to withstand some of it, but I mean, like, especially with labor strife, there is no salary cap for them. So if they want to go and say, hey, whoever, Jalen Brunson, we'll pay you $100 million a year to come be a part of this. Like, again, if you didn't learn anything from the whole golf situation, it is, don't let them be your competition. Because if there's your competition, you will lose great talent. There's no way around it. And I think it is much more relevant on the women's side than it is the men's side. Because guys like Jalen Brunson get paid $65 million a year, right? Like, so that one's not as big a deal. But on the women's side, I mean, if they just would decided like, hey, we want to make this. And so if you're trying to expand globally, the best thing you can do is have a meeting and say, hey, don't do your thing globally. Like, be involved in our thing. And
With us, help us.
do this all. That's the thing.
If you're in the market for a European International Basketball League, you're trying to start your own, guess what? We are the NBA. We are FIBA. We are starting our own. So instead of you building something with blueprints and breaking ground, why don't you just partner with us? It makes perfect sense.
Let's be partners rather than competition.
Let me take it one step further, Verno. The previous thing that I cared about, what is the future for LeBron and Steph Curry, might have something to do with the current thing that we're talking about. You got Steph and LeBron in these kind of like lame duck teams that are not contenders, but they still have 1 or 2 years left. You're like, I can lose on the Lakers while Luka shoots 30 shots a game and handles every possession, or I can go to
I could see LeBron
Barcelona.
I could see LeBron doing like the barnstorming tour more so than I could Steph. That seems like a LeBron thing.
But ownership, you get part ownership,
part ownership,
whatever.
Well, and I think that was
Basketball Club London or whatever.
I think that was like the threat, right? The threat was, hey, me and Maverick Carter and all our guys, we're gonna start.
Oh yeah, on the boat. Remember, he was on the boat with Jokic's.
Yeah. If you're not gonna let me own the Vegas franchise and have a big part in that one, whenever you get to expansion, then I'll figure out how to be an owner. Something else that competes with you. I just think Adam Silver's biggest thing now with the NBA Europe, with the Saudi Arabia investment, with the LeBron James and Maverick Carter, like the most important thing is to make people partners rather than competition.
Yes, I think that's true too. And before you go, there's one thing that I didn't mention earlier that now that we're in the end of the podcast, I have to mention. I'm watching the fucking Knicks last night. Lose to the Mavs G League team. And Karl-Anthony Towns has been in the crosshairs of the Knicks fans for like 10, 14 days now. Watching the game last night, and you might not have caught it. There's a big football game on.
And all that.
This dude, and for some reason, we all have those like players that we irrationally like. Like for some reason, I love Dwight Powell. I don't think he's ever scored more than like 14 points in a basketball game, but I just always ride for this guy. He got a start last night, right? Because there's no Gafford and there's no Lively and blah, blah, blah.
You remember when you were a little kid and you played like somebody had to play all-time quarterback? He's all-time Mav.
Yes.
He's been there.
There's
forever.
no reason to re-sign him ever. Like, he rarely contributes.
He doesn't even
when they're successful, he does not get off the bench.
He does not have a contract. He's just
never
left.
Yeah,
he's just never left. His contract ran out 10 years ago.
He sleeps in a sleeping bag in one of the suites.
He just never left. And he's like, if you need me.
Yeah, I'll be here. Early in the game, Karl-Anthony Towns kicks him in the balls. And he gets like a flagrant for it. You're like, oh, okay. No lie. Karl-Anthony Towns kicked Dwight Powell in the balls 4 or 5 times during the game last night.
Oh my God.
And the last time he knees Dwight Powell in the balls. This must have been the 4th time with a flailing leg. Dwight Powell responds by kicking him in the balls. We've all seen those like double knockouts in boxing. They did like a double ball kick.
What?
And I'm sitting there being like, Karl-Anthony Towns, with everything the internet has to say about you, with everything my group chats have to say about you, with everything that's going on, you've decided to respond to all of this by kicking Dwight Powell in the balls 5 times during a single basketball game in which you're losing by 30 points to the reserves of the Mavs.
I've got to see this.
It was just weird. We're about to wrap the pod. The first thing I want you to do is just put into search Karl-Anthony Towns, Dwight Powell. The broadcast did a montage
of ball kicks.
Of ball kicks and elbows to the face. Karl-Anthony Towns has no control over his limbs, and that is the best and worst thing about him on a basketball court.
Unbelievable.
I hate this. If they lose to the Nets, I'm not doing the show on Friday. Right now. If they lose to the Nets, I'm not doing the show on Friday. I'm dedicating the rest of my life to being a better golfer than LeBron James.
Fair. Thank you, Darren.
I will not do the show on Friday if they lose.
I don't blame you.
I might not even watch the game on the Gotham Sports app. I hate it so much. I hate this.
Thank you to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez, as always. Jacoby, I'll talk to you maybe later this week.